everyone, and welcome again to Dungeons and Tangents. My name is Erik Dewhurst.
I am Chris Rutledge.
And today we are talking about character generation. Our previous episode was about D&D Beyond and how they have evolved. They're in the process of creating a product that includes the character generation tools that people would generally want in a digital platform.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of different character generation options in Dungeons & Dragons and other Dungeons & Dragons variant games. The first one that really stands out is pencil and paper, because we've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
I don't actually, when I generate a character, I generally use a PDF. And that's like that's the most advanced thing I've done.
Yeah. So I've been playing since I was a kid, and one of the most favorite things that I liked doing was creating characters. And back then, we had computers, but they weren't as sophisticated as they are now. And so you were forced to pull out sheets of paper and start digging through resource books and going line by line, going, okay, these are all my feats, or these are the feats that I have available to me, and here's the construction of my character. And it would take, you could not do it in a day. If you really cared about your character, it would take you several days, if not
and part of it's
longer.
Generally, there isn't a 1, 2, 3, here's how you build a character, which is weird.
Yeah, so your initial player guide had that, right? But then the problem was that player guide could not anticipate future publications.
Right.
And then you would have to start scouring through some of the magazines
right.
and some of the new player resources that were put out, right? And none of them could tie each other back to each other, because obviously that's not what paper publishing really did.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun digging through that, and as you started like collecting resources, you would bookmark which ones had what, right? So as you're reading through them, and that was actually kind of the fun of getting some of the resources, was you would just use it as like a weekend reader, and then you would notate, oh, okay, this is a really good idea for a cool character or class or feat that I wanted. Now, obviously, with advanced technology, computers, that has gone out the wayside. It's a quick search for what you want and what you're looking for, and even in Google, right? Google's probably your best resource for it, because you could just type in D&D 5th edition cool as hell monk, and you'll have a ton of articles on playing an awesome monk, and people have different builds listed, and you can go off of that. People now getting into it, the barrier of entry is significantly lower, but it's still tough because there's still a lot of content, and
it's
much,
kind of a double-edged sword now.
It is. There's so much content. Where do you start, right?
Yeah.
And some of the things that we're going to talk about kind of help alleviate that barrier of entry. Some are really good, some aren't so good. It's all done on the basis of really what you're looking for, and are you super advanced or are you just a pure beginner? Right?
Yeah, and D&D Beyond itself, what they've created thus far, seems to be aimed at relatively beginner stage.
Yeah.
It's just like, you want to create a barbarian, let's create a barbarian and roll some stats and get some equipment and done.
Yep, but I'm really impressed with it though, because in normal character creation, right, you have to think about whether you're going to roll die or you're going to do a point buy for your character's stats, right?
Yeah.
They actually let you do both.
Yep.
They give you a couple options, and they explain what's going on. What they've done so far in the character creation is really unique in the sense that they step you through each phase, and they're explaining all the phases. So when you go in, you look.
That's unique.
Yeah, it's very unique. And when you choose a class, it pops the class up, and it gives a really quick description of the class and its abilities and why playing this class is so fun or what's great about it.
Which is in the core rulebook.
Right. But you have to read through all of that to get to the end, where if you didn't want to, you could just click on it, look at the quick description, and then maybe click on another class that doesn't appeal to you, or even the races. Like, the way that they've set up the process is very intuitive, and also explains why you're doing this and why you're doing that, and what happens if you choose an 8 for your strength as opposed to choosing a 15. They do explain the cons and pros of your actions, which some of these don't do, right?
No,
or
there's a lot of assumptions in the
Yes.
role-playing game, the tabletop world, that you've played this before.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. Here's just the rules. You'll figure out how to flip through them and build a character.
And what happens too is as you're building a character, you may have done something 10, 15 steps prior that you won't realize what's happening until you're starting to play through the character and realize, oh, my 8 in strength is now keeping me from doing X, Y, Z, right? My acrobatics checks or my strength checks are going to be really bad. My encumbrance is going to be significantly lower than someone else's because I can't carry so much. I now can't wear full plate armor even though I'm building a paladin and my strength is 8, right? Like that process that they've built out so far really does kind of show you the implications of your choices, which these books that you try to build a character from pen and paper don't really do.
No, they're just, here are rules, assemble them the way you want to assemble them.
Yeah.
So that's D&D Beyond, but there's this huge world of other, well, maybe not huge world, but
There's quite a bit.
A nice list of other resources that allow you to create characters in an automated fashion so that you're following all the rules.
Yeah.
You're not stubbing your toe on obscure rules, and if you want to use obscure rules, that they get pulled into the fold and get used the way that they were intended to, not the way that one player thought they should be used, and then the DM has to slap them on the wrist.
Yeah. So one of the ones that I like using is PC Gen. So it's a Java-based application that can run on any platform. So Windows, Mac, or your Linux environment.
Yeah.
So it won't run on mobile. I don't believe that there's a mobile option.
Okay.
But it's very comprehensive. They have a lot of source files for Pathfinder, D&D, a bunch of other games.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other games that I haven't seen before either. Which is nice because that means that their software is really robust and it's flexible. You can also create your own scripts and create your own data files too, right? So if you wanted to create your own campaign, you could actually create your own game and your own platform through that. You would need to know how to do some of the scripting for it.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of online resources.
We should say we're both software engineers.
Yeah.
by
So
trade.
So we really appreciate this stuff when we see it because having this openness is fantastic.
In part because I don't want to do that work.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we do it at home, or we do it at work. We don't want to be doing it at home all day.
Yeah.
So PC Gen's really good. It's not without its flaws because it's completely open source. So there's a community of people that are constantly finding bugs, contributing to some of the data files, and adding to that content, right? Now they follow on the Open Gaming License. You probably hear us talk about the OGL quite a bit.
Him anyway.
But so it's really important that the OGL is around because it's allowing these people to create this content with otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it, right? So
they would
have to pay for licensing and royalties, and it allows a community to be created that can contribute to what they want to without actually having to shell out money,
right?
And or have to pay, but at the same time they're not making money on it either, right? It's completely free and available to anyone.
PC Gen is completely free.
Yes.
Some of the other platforms are not.
No, right? So Fantasy Grounds, right?
Which is a great example of something that is not free.
Right, but to be honest with you, Fantasy Grounds, with everything that you get out of it, and the amount of work that's been put into it, I don't expect somebody to release that as free content. If they did, they've got really bad business acumen.
Yeah.
So Fantasy Grounds will allow you to choose your platform that they have a license for, that they will pay a royalty fee for. They come with, the majority of them come with their own character creations, and they do step you through choosing your class, choosing your stats, choosing the race, and having you choose maybe like subclasses or archetypes and multi-classing, right? There's a lot of rules that you can really get overburdened with, and a lot of the software does help you with those rules.
Right. So Fantasy Grounds, it's just a platform for managing characters, managing campaigns, but then the next one on our list is Roll20. We're kind of inadvertently kind of ramping up in terms of functionality. You go from
A little bit, yeah.
pen and paper to PC Gen was just create a character. Fantasy Grounds, you can manage not just a character, but a whole campaign.
Yep.
You really manage a lot more. And then Roll20, the next one on our list, it's not just managing all of that, but also playing it online with your friends via their own video chat system.
Yep.
And you've got audio and video and a map and everything that you would need in almost everything you need in a physical form.
Yeah. So
in an online form.
again, you get into the licensing part of it, right? So if you wanted to run D&D or Pathfinder content, you have to have a license for it. But generally, only one person needs to have the license. Not every player needs to have it, right? Roll20 also has their Roll20 Pro program that you would pay for additional content and additional features. Without the Roll20 Pro, you still get the majority of the functionality of Roll20, but Roll20 Pro gives you additional features beyond their normal basic set.
Okay.
And don't forget, Fantasy Grounds allows you to give a shell client to your players,
That's right.
and they can connect to you online as well. But that's your direct connection.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's a web browser server connection that Roll20 themselves actually manage.
Right.
But again, now with Roll20, you have to create your character sheet manually. You have to go in.
Yeah.
Now what's really cool is that Roll20 has also an online community where you can create importers, and a lot of people have done
new.
this.
New to me.
Yep. So for Pathfinder Roll20 character sheets, if you have Hero Lab, I believe if you have PC Gen, and I believe if you have Fantasy Grounds, you can export your character creation in an XML file and then import it into Roll20, and it
nice.
loads your entire character, all your stats, your feats, your equipment, and everything like that for you.
That's nice, because loading up the character is...
It's time consuming.
Yeah, Robert and I did a demo of Roll20 a while back, and the setup is...
It's a huge learning curve. A
Yeah.
very, very big learning curve.
Big learning
for sure.
curve, and if you're a DM, well, if I'm a DM and I do campaign setup that's for pen and paper, and usually when I'm done, I pretty much have like a couple sheets of paper that I've scribbled notes on. I don't necessarily want to then have a huge weight of, data entry, effectively.
Yeah.
We're talking about all of these tools. I don't use hardly any of them. I use so little.
But they're there for you, right? So
They are there,
it's preference too. Like, so if you think about it, Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 are primarily for people who want to play online campaigns.
Yes.
You're really pulling yourself away from having your character sheets out on the table, having your maps out on the table, and doing something in person, right? Now, another thing that we're going to talk about now is Hero Lab, something I actually ran you through today at lunch. Hero Lab will allow you to create your own character locally, but you can also add additional characters. So you can either be a GM or you can be a player, or you can be both if you wanted to. And it steps you through creating your character and managing that character, just like the others do. Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds also let you do it. So this is kind of just their own flavor. They also both have mobile apps. So if you had a phone or if you had a tablet, you can run them on there as well. And Hero Lab is just another flavor of it. For PC Gen, because it's open source, it has a couple flaws, so there are some conflicts. Hero Lab, so far, from what I can tell, has been generally conflict-free. So far, it's not perfect. They are a little bit pricey. Hero Lab and Fantasy Grounds, I believe, are probably the most expensive.
I know they're over $100 for... Is that right?
So Fantasy Grounds, I believe, is like $100 if you wanted to be a GM.
Yep.
If you're just a player, I believe it's a little bit cheaper. But then you have to buy each of the modules that you want to play.
If you're playing Minds of Phandelver, you buy Minds of Phandelver as a Fantasy Grounds module, and then it loads in. But then you have all the content there. You have all the maps and the NPCs and all of the content. The entire book is in there. Yeah,
Hero Lab, you will buy, at least for the Pathfinder side, you'll buy, I believe it's like $39 for a base set, either to be a GM or to be a player, and it comes with a basic set of core rule books and a couple other rule books and additional resources. And then you can actually buy class packs if you're a player. So you can buy like a warrior or a cleric class pack, and it comes with several other classes and their subclasses or archetypes. And then there's a bunch of other player compendiums if you wanted to purchase that add to all of that content. It's a very like piecemeal a la carte option, right?
Well, but that means if you go with Hero Lab rather than Fantasy Grounds, you get to choose what you pay for rather than just paying for everything, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. But after a while, it does become expensive, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
Hero Lab might be very appealing to a player who just wants to play a cleric or a specific class, and then they know that they're probably just going to play that for a while. It's about $45 altogether to drop that cash, but then you get a couple licenses, you can play it on your laptop, and you can use it on a mobile device, and you still have some options. I find the character management in Hero Lab a little bit better than I do PC Gen and Fantasy Grounds, and I like it a lot. It's been great so far.
Again, most of the games I play, I'm managing everything pen and paper.
Yeah.
And the people who come to the table, it's pen and paper, but we're doing it kind of old school style. We're trying. That's kind of the mentality.
Yeah.
But coming to a game table with your character sheet on a computer, that works too, because then you're taking up less.
Take up significantly less space. You're not flipping through pages and pages and pages of a character sheet to look for a spell. You could scroll over a spell and it gives you all the stats or all the DC checks and everything like that for it.
The worst thing about playing in pen and paper is when somebody's like, I'm going to cast X, and they've never cast that spell before. I'm like, tell me what that spell does. And like, oh, wait. And they pull out the handbook and they're like, flipping through it, okay, okay, here it is.
That onus is on the player a little bit to know their character, so that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But no, that happens, right?
Yeah.
So like even if you listen to a couple podcasts, whether you're listening to Glass Cannon or if you're listening to Dice Camera Action, not everybody. Critical Role. Yeah, Critical
Role
kind of sidesteps some of that stuff.
Yeah, they just like say table rules, whatever.
Yeah. Or even in earlier episodes of the Adventure Zone, they did do some stoppages to go, tell me about that spell.
Yeah.
Right? And then they leave a bunch of stuff on the cutting floor, right? Or the editing floor. They'll edit some of that stuff out, but every once in a while you do hear, and maybe it's flavor for the person listening because they want to hear some of that stuff going on. But
I like that Glass Cannon did a lot of, because I don't play Pathfinder and Glass Cannon's all Pathfinder, I don't know all the rules, so it's kind of nice to hear.
To hear them go through
it. So what are you doing now? Well, I've got this rapid reload feat.
Yep.
Well, what the hell's rapid reload? And then they explain it, and the podcast moves on, and now I understand the rules.
No, they do really good, like keep the player engaged with that stuff. But we digress.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of Hero Lab. I've probably spent a little bit more money than I may have liked to initially, but I get a lot of use out of it. And to be honest with you, outside of just playing, if I'm killing time or if I have nothing to do instead of staring at my phone, I am creating a new character and playing around with different ideas and different builds and stuff like that. So
you put Mythweaver as the next item on the list.
So Mythweaver is I guess the best way to put it is a online site that lets you select a specific game. And then they have a couple other tools where you can create character sheets from there and manage the character on there. A couple of players that I play on my Roll20 and Discord Pathfinder group, they use Mythweaver for the majority of their stuff. 3 of us use Hero Lab and the other 2 use Mythweaver. And they generally like Mythweaver pretty well. I believe you can actually export some of your stuff from Mythweaver and bring it into Roll20 also if you wanted to. So
another one of those.
Yeah. Yep.
That's like a dipping your toe in the world of character generation, because I know there are
there's a lot more. Yeah,
Excel spreadsheets that have been created by a dozen different people.
Yeah. Well, so that was initially probably even before PC Gen. That was the only thing that we had available to us was somebody who created an Excel spreadsheet or a purely JavaScript site that would run through the entire character creation and probably crash your browser because it was eating
Yeah.
up too much memory at one point.
Right.
I don't remember the name of the site, but I'll get it to Erik and we'll post a link to it. It still exists, and they created there was a 4th edition one for it, and then when D&D Next started coming out,
Right, which became 5th edition.
they created one just like it. So I'll make sure we include it in the notes for the podcast. But
Okay.
in the beginning, that site used to crash my browser constantly because it had so much logic built into it,
Right.
and rightfully so.
Yeah,
Right.
well, there's a reason why all of these
Exist.
character generations,
Yeah.
they exist, and most of them are standalone applications that are, they're written to deal with all this logic.
Yeah.
They're not just a website that's kind of shoehorning it.
Yep, exactly. So there's a bunch of other resources too, right? So not just official content, but third-party resources, right? So you've got Drive-Thru RPG, which not only sells D&D content, but allows people to create their own. And then the Open Gaming Network has their own SRD compendium, I guess you would call it, right, for other platforms, primarily 3.5, 4th edition, 5th edition, and Pathfinder, where they have pretty much anything you could find. If you didn't want to buy a book, you could go through their content and actually, use them as a resource. They have pretty much everything. Certain content they may rename a little bit because there's trademarks on it. So if you're looking for maybe Champion of the Faith or a different Paladin class, it might be named a little bit differently because there might be some trademarks to it.
Okay.
So they kind of avoid that.
Beholders are a trademark. Mind Flayers are a trademark.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
There are other classes and monsters that are trademarks.
Yep.
Like you can't use the term Hobbit without having somebody from the Tolkien
Somebody
family
screaming at
showing
you
up.
about it? Okay, gotcha. Is that why they're all called halflings?
That is why they're called halflings,
yeah.
because Gary Gygax was sued over the fact that he was using
Hobbits.
halfling and Balrog. So now we have halflings and what are they called? Balor.
The Balors.
Balors instead of Balrog.
Yeah. There's actually a stack exchange for RPGs, RPG Stack Exchange. This is an online community where people can ask questions and you'll get an answer from the majority of the communities. RPG Stack Exchange, from what I can tell so far and everything that I've used for it, people have been really great. I've asked quite a few questions on there and I've gotten really good responses. As long as you've done your homework and you're just not immediately typing in and you haven't done a quick Google search for what you want, because the majority of your questions have been answered before. But RPG Stack Exchange is a really good place if you have a question to get an answer, or even search for other questions that people have asked before. And then good old Reddit, right? Reddit's a fantastic resource.
And I like Reddit not just for questions and
memes and cats.
Yeah, well, I do like it for memes and cats. But related to D&D, I like it as inspirational sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
Go and
absolutely.
you'll find so many DMs who have said, here's how I'm running this particular campaign.
Yeah.
Or here's a crazy trick I tried and it worked out, and here's what worked and here's what didn't work.
It's a great place to find maps too. Like I'm map starved, constantly map starved. If I'll go through either the Pathfinder or D&D subreddit, and if somebody has posted like an image or gallery to a bunch of maps, I'll start picking off maps, and I could create content off of those maps too. But I'll usually find a lot of inspiration off of like encounters off of a map.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff out there, right? You're not just limited to just the books that are available, but a lot of software, a lot of online resources too.
Yeah. So that's probably it for this episode. We've covered a lot about character generation and third-party content, all of the different tools for both character generation and the sources that you can go to for third-party content.
Whether you want to spend money or if you want to save a hurting on your wallet, there's a lot of options.
So again, we'll be doing a couple other podcasts in the near future probably on the celebrities of D&D. We've mentioned people like Gary Gygax,
Chris Perkins,
Matt Mercer. I mentioned him periodically. Matt Colville has pretty much become a celebrity of D&D at this point.
Yep.
And so that we'll probably do an episode on that and Anatomy of an Encounter at some point. If there are other topics that you're interested in, just let us know. If you're listening to this, you're probably nuts, and you should subscribe because you're nuts. Send us a comment if you're in a platform that allows for comments. If you are not, we are available on Twitter, and please tweet at us and follow us on Twitter. We are on Dungeon_Tangent. Did I get it right?
I believe so.
Dungeon_Tangent is our Twitter handle. Chris, you are, if you want to tell your...
Yeah,
Okay.
I am at Chris_Rutledge. Apparently we have this problem of using underscores in social media names, which is a bad no-no.
Is it?
Yeah, because it makes it difficult for people to find you. And I got...
okay.
I didn't get into Twitter in time, and someone else stole Chris Rutledge. I'm like, really, man? Come on.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's all for this episode.
Yeah, thank you for watching. Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.